sure.
Hello, I am Kyle Ilyssa.
I'm Benedict Cumberbatch.
That is a lie. You are Ilyssa. I am Ilyssa Russ. Welcome to my channel. What are we here to talk about?
We're gonna talk about wedding planning.
Woo!
Oh,
How far out are we?
We are 7 months and 30 days away from getting married.
We're 8 months away.
We get a lot of questions about, I get a lot of questions about how is wedding planning going? And as if like we're not both planning a wedding together, but sometimes it does feel like.
I get no questions about it because I'm a man. Apparently I'm not supposed to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So, good luck.
Yeah. No, that's not the case.
No, not in ours.
So, what have been good things about wedding planning?
That I'm marrying you and you are the definition of organized. I'd say the best thing about it so far has really been you putting up tasks and me taking the tasks that you assign and or divvy up my way.
What do you mean? Like what?
Like the website or the artwork, which
Okay.
you still took control of for the most part.
Coming into wedding planning, I already had a really good idea of vendors and places that we wanted to look at. I wanted a venue that was all-inclusive. I wanted a venue that you could walk into and it had the ceremony site and the reception site right there. I didn't want to go two different places. And also that they had all of the accommodations, or I shouldn't say accommodations, but they had all the amenities available, like tables and linen, flatware, glassware. If you don't know this about wedding planning already, most of the time, if you try to get a venue that is a wide open space, you're gonna have to bring in everything yourself. You're gonna have to bring in all the tables and the chairs and the linens and the flatware and the glassware, and that is not something that I wanted to deal with. So we chose a venue that has everything all there, including the food. Because it actually is a farm-to-table restaurant.
Our venue has so much to offer. Besides the chairs for the ceremony itself, they literally have everything. It's a very rustic meets modern location, which is something we both wanted. As initially, I wanted something somewhat secluded in an area that would be kind of, forestry, wilderness. For a wedding that's not very realistic, especially when you have family flying in from across the country.
I think that's something that you see a lot on Pinterest, where you see that there are couples getting married in the middle of the woods and it's so rustic and pretty and beautiful. And that sounds really awesome, but actually putting that into practice and being pragmatic about having your guests meet you out in the middle of nowhere, it doesn't work. But I really like our venue.
Yeah.
So I think Kyle was saying that it's sort of rustic, it's a garden, but then the entire inside is, what would you call it?
The plants are all succulents. There are succulents and sand outside. Vegetables. Inside, again, there's, would they be cacti?
Yeah.
Cactuses?
Cacti.
So it's definitely...
It's very San Diego.
It's very San Diego. The architecture... the building, it's very contemporary. This location has a lot of places where if you're a guest coming to our wedding and you want to sneak off and check the place out, it's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Upstairs area has a separate wine bar. There's
a pool hall,
a library,
and
everything we want this place already, because our theme is succulents and books. Obviously because she's a teacher and we really love succulents and nature and plant life. So this place to already have those two things was almost too perfect when we found it. It almost was. It was surreal in a sense.
So we get to have the ceremony outside in their garden, and then come inside to their restaurant / conference building.
Amazing.
Yeah. So what's been the worst part of wedding planning, you think?
I don't think it's happened yet. The worst part so far was waiting to take the engagement shots. The trip itself was exhausting. It was a lot of travel. I've never done a photo shoot like that before. I had to style my own hair, things like that sound simple, for me, were a nightmare.
Buying clothes.
Getting clothes that would look good together.
Not matching, but try to
make it complimentary. We took the dog up with us. So there were just a lot of variables that had me stressing like way out from the photo shoot. And now that that's done, it was actually a fun shoot.
Again, it goes back to that idea of, oh, this Pinterest wedding, everything looks so easy. And then when you actually get into the process of trying to plan and trying to organize things, even as simple as engagement shoots, they're actually very stressful. I guess for me, the worst part of wedding planning has been dealing with my parents. We are so blessed that my parents have chosen to pay for this wedding for us. And honestly, so grateful.
Yeah.
But knowing me, and you guys know me as an ESTJ, right? Here comes my Myers-Briggs. I like to control situations. I like to be in control. I like to have autonomy. I like to make all of my own decisions for myself. I feel best when I am in control.
I don't think you're that way.
And the problem is that, unfortunately, because I'm not paying, I'm not in control. There are a lot of things that we have had to negotiate with my parents about. Things that we didn't necessarily want, or they weren't our first choice, but we've had to do those things because my parents ultimately get to make the decision, and we get that, and we understand, I think, that there are so many couples out there who are paying for the wedding themselves.
Yeah.
And we are so lucky, so blessed.
Very much.
Very much so that our parents have chosen, and even his parents are going to pay for our rehearsal dinner. We're very fortunate to be able to have parents that have the means and that want to pay for our wedding.
And they're excited. They're beyond excited for this wedding.
But I think also the control part, because of who we are as a couple, because we're so non-traditional, I think there are certain expectations of how a wedding would be planned and how it will be run. And because we're so non-traditional, it doesn't really fit with our ideas, I guess. Does that make sense?
No, it does. But I think we did a poor job of
compromising.
There we go.
I don't know how to compromise.
Compromising. I think that we did not consider compromising early enough on to consider things that just because we're non-traditional, these people are going way out of their way to come to our wedding, and we need to be flexible with how we're going to manage this wedding out of pure respect for other people.
We'll just give the example. We did not want kids at our wedding. We didn't want kids at our wedding. And that was really important to us. And we kept on saying we don't want kids at our wedding. But because, again, you were right. I think you're right that we didn't do a very good job early on compromising. And I had just made the assumption that
no kids.
We're going to have no kids because that's what we would like. And my parents said,
there's no way to make that work.
There's no way.
Yeah.
We have family members that are children. And though we'll be able to not have kids, I think, of everyone else, maybe our friends that are coming, our parents flat out said, no, you will have children there because they're your family members. They are blood related to you. And that is something that we just had to agree with.
We're past that.
But that was a speed bump for a second where instead of negotiating, I really closed up about that and said, no, that's not what I want, and you're not listening to me. And my parents said, we don't care. You're doing it.
I think, again, it comes down to going to weddings and seeing certain things and assuming your wedding is going to be like that. Kid acting up at a ceremony and you're like, I would never let that happen. But that doesn't happen at every wedding that has children. You're just associating one bad situation, and you literally then put yourself in those situations. You say, my wedding's going to be like that if I have kids. If you're going to have kids, you just, we have to compromise, which we're doing.
I think another one of the more non-traditional things that maybe we ran into a speed bump with is I specifically said I don't want a bridal shower, I don't want a bachelorette party. I said if we're going to do a shower, I would like to do a couple's shower. We're both getting married. I think it was just...
not necessary.
It just wasn't necessary,
Not necessary financially.
It's not necessary.
Financially, it's something that makes no sense to do if it's, not done in advance. And if you had enough people that can come. You don't have your
my whole family lives in New Jersey,
maid of honor can't make it.
Right. So it'd be difficult for me to even have one. But that was a speed bump that we hit because my mom was like, well, what do you mean you don't want a bridal shower? That's what we do. It's something that we're gonna do. And I said, no, I don't want one. You know, going wedding dress shopping with your bridesmaids. And that's not something I did. I walked right into a bridal store, didn't expect to find my dress. This second dress I tried on, I was like, that's it. And my mom came up 2 weeks later and we bought it. That was not something that was important to me. So I think, obviously, we're just denying a lot of those traditions. Speaking of that, and that would be a good segue, I think. So obviously we're having a wedding where we are doing lots of non-traditional elements, but we are keeping some traditional elements. So what traditional elements are we keeping?